They told you to be yourself. But have you ever stopped to ask, who is that self? And more importantly, did you ever choose it? The illusion of the self is one of the most dangerous comforts in modern society. From the very beginning, from infancy, you are not being formed freely. You are being shaped, molded, controlled, not with violence, but with expectation, with repetition, with reward, and with silence. What you call you is a negotiation between what you wanted and what you were allowed to become, between instinct and instruction, between desire and duty. You are taught to speak, but only the language your culture approves of. You are taught to express, but only in forms your parents find acceptable. You are taught to feel, but only emotions that won't disrupt the system around you. The rest? They are buried, repressed, pushed into the basement of the psyche, what I called the unconscious. But nothing repressed is truly gone. It becomes the shadow that drives you. You see, when you suppress an instinct, you don't kill it. You redirect it. You disguise it. You wrap it in rationalization, defense, and denial. You pretend to be kind, not because you are kind, but because you are terrified of what might happen if you weren't. You chase success, not because you want achievement, but because you fear rejection. You conform, not out of conviction, but because individuality once cost you love. This is not authenticity. This is adaptation. And there is a difference. They told you, be yourself. But which one? The self that performs to survive, or the one you've never allowed to speak? By the time you are old enough to question these things, the mask is no longer just something you wear. It is fused to your identity. You do not know where it ends, and you begin. This is why people crumble in therapy, because the story they've told themselves for years, this is who I am, starts to fall apart. And in that collapse, there is a terrifying silence. What remains when the ego loses its script? For many, it is unbearable. They retreat, they run, they numb. Because the truth is, most people don't want to discover their real self. They want relief. They want safety. They want validation. But the unconscious does not care for comfort. It cares for truth. And truth, my dear listener, is rarely comfortable. Consider this. You are the product of unresolved trauma, of unspoken rules, of inherited guilt, of misdirected love, of buried rage. And yet society hands you a mirror and says, be yourself. What if that mirror only reflects what others needed you to be? What if every dream, every desire, every word you speak is not yours but a symptom? What if you've been living a life of echoes, repeating behaviors that were never freely chosen but psychologically enforced? This is the tragedy of the modern psyche. It suffers but does not know why. It rebels but cannot explain against what. It longs for freedom but fears the cost of being free. You ask, who am I? I respond, you are a construction, a defense mechanism with a name, a composite of compromises made in childhood to survive a world that refused to accept your full humanity. That's not an insult. It's a beginning. To truly meet yourself, you must do what few dare to attempt. You must dismantle, not decorate, not improve, but dismantle. Tear apart the stories, question the emotions, interrogate the shoulds, feel the anger, welcome the confusion. Because the false self is strong but fragile. It keeps you functioning, but it also keeps you from becoming. Authenticity is not comfortable. It is not smiling in the mirror. It is confronting the internal chaos without flinching. It is asking, what part of me is real and what part was just my response to fear. That is the beginning of freedom, not in becoming something new, but in finally noticing what you've always been beneath the performance. So when they say, be yourself, ask, who told me who I am? And why did I believe them? Only then can you begin the descent, not into madness, but into truth. And if you are brave enough to keep going, you may find that the self you've been searching for has been silently waiting in the shadows all along. End of narration.